Greetings, YouTube. The doctor is in. Dr. Urias Papers here, coming at you with another commentary on Dungeons and Dragons. And today we are going to be talking about the spell Flesh to Stone. The legacy version is up here right now. We are going to be looking at this compared to the 2024 version. There are some differences. We're going to be looking at that, and we are going to be looking at this spell from the perspective of Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, or as some of you like to know it as First Edition, Second Edition, and Third Edition. But first, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you have any questions or comments, please leave a question or comment, and don't forget to hit that notification bell. All right, let's get into it. All right, Flesh to Stone is a 6th level spell. Back in the day when we originally reviewed this, we gave this a solid C. I didn't think that this mustered up to 6th level, and it definitely did not muster up to what it used to be in Advanced Dungeons & Dragons 2nd Edition and 3rd Edition. So 6th level spell, 1 action, verbal, somatic, and material component, which is a pinch of lime, water, and earth worthless components, so you can use your arcane focus. Duration of 1 minute, required concentration, was a transmutation spell. It unfortunately used a constitution saving throw. So you attempt to turn a creature that you can see within 60 feet into stone. If it's made out of flesh, the creature's got to make that save. On a failed save, it becomes restrained, and it begins to harden. On a successful save, it's done. So nothing happens, essentially. So the creature that's restrained has to make a constitution save at the end of each of its turns. If it successfully does 3 saves, not consecutively, the spell is over with. If it fails 3 times, not consecutively, it is petrified and turns to stone. And if you concentrate on the spell for the full minute, it is permanent. So the creature is turned to stone until the effect is removed, and there's only certain ways to remove the petrification. And this particular spell was usable by warlocks and wizards back in the day. And then bards could get a hold of this spell as well. All right, let's take a look at the 2024 version. So it is still a 6th level, still 1 action, still 60 feet. Verbal, somatic, and material component. And the material component now is a cockatrice feather. Now, that is, to me, is open to interpretation on whether that is a worthless or valued component. My opinion is that is a valued component because you just don't find those feathers everywhere, and you have to actually get it off of a creature. So once you have it, it doesn't say that it's consumed, so you can cast it over and over and over again with that feather. But you're still going to have to get the feather. So I think that that is something that you are going to have to get, and it will not suffice to just use your arcane focus. All right, spell still lasts for a minute. It's still transmutation, and it's still a con save. So here's a second change to this. It is now druids, sorcerers, and wizards. They took out the warlock. The warlock is no longer here. They added sorcerers and druids to the spell. So that, I'm okay with that. Again, you attempt to turn a creature that you can see into stone. The target has to make a constitution saving throw. On a failed save, it is restrained. On a successful save, unlike the first, it has a speed of 0 until the start of your next turn. Constructs automatically succeed on the save. So at least there is something that happens if they pass their save. Whereas in the legacy version, there is nothing that happens on a successful save. It just, the spell doesn't have any effect. Okay, if it is restrained, that is, it failed its first save, then it's got to make one at the end of each of its turns. On a successful save 3 times, not consecutively, the spell ends. If it fails 3 times, not consecutively, it is petrified for the duration of the spell. Successes and failures don't have to be consecutive. And if you maintain concentration, then the target is petrified until the condition is ended with a greater restoration. So we're going to look a little bit about that. But this spell, unlike The legacy version does not say anything about the broken state of the statue. So that looks like it might be up to some interpretation. All right, let's take a look at the petrified condition. Here it is right here. So you're turned into an inanimate substance. It doesn't say object, it says substance. You are transformed along with any non-magical objects you are wearing and carrying into a solid inanimate substance, usually stone. Your weight increases by a factor of 10 and you cease aging. You are incapacitated. Your speed is 0 and cannot increase. Your attacks against you have advantage. You automatically fail dex and strength saves. Can you say disintegration? You have resistance to all damage. You have immunity to poison. So the poisoned condition. So lots to unpack there. Still doesn't say anything about what happens if you break an arm off of the statue. So I don't know why they took that out. It was in the legacy version, and they took it out of this. Okay. Next, greater restoration. This spell didn't really change from the legacy version to 2024, but there it is right there. The charmed or petrified condition is removed. So this is the way to get rid of it right here. Greater restoration. All right. Let's take a look at first edition. That's third edition. Let's take a look at first edition. So in first edition, and I'm going to get rid of this here. We'll get rid of the rating so we can see it a little bit better. So in first edition, it was not called Flesh to Stone. It was called Stone to Flesh. It was a level 6 spell. It did have a range, verbal and somatic components, and it was reversible. It said alteration reversible. So with that spell, there was a saving throw. The Stone to Flesh turns any sort of stone into flesh. If the recipient stone object was formerly living, it will restore life. Although the survival of the creature is subject to the usual system shock survival dice rolls, so that was a thing that happened, then you could reverse it. The reverse will turn flesh of any sort to stone, just as the Stone to Flesh spell functions. All possessions on the person or of the creature likewise turn to stone. The reverse of the spell will require a saving throw be allowed the intended victim. And then the material component of the spell is a pinch of earth and a drop of blood, lime, water, and earth are used for the reverse. So this one is save or suck. You cast the spell. They had to make a saving throw versus spells. If they failed, they were stone. That's that. And pretty much the only way to reverse this was the reverse of this spell. In second edition, here is second edition. Again, it was, let me move my face here over to here. You're going to see a little bit of the magic in the background here. This was the same as the Advanced Dungeons & Dragons version, although they did 10 yards per level instead of 1 inch per level. Still one creature, and it's reversible. So it still says reversible right there. All right, so let's move us over here. And again, flesh in the volume of 9 cubic feet per level of experience of the spellcaster could be turned into flesh. And then the reverse, flesh to stone, turns flesh of any sort to stone. All possessions on the person of the creature likewise turn to stone. The intended subject of the spell receives a saving throw versus spell to avoid the effect. If the statue created by this is subjected to breakage or weathering, the being will have similar damage, deformities, etc. So the DM may allow such damage to be repaired by various high-level cleric spells such as Regenerate. So this version of the spell came out after Gary Gygax had left TSR. And then there was the third level version, which did say flesh to stone. Let's see where we can find it here. Fog cloud, flesh to stone. There it is right there. So it does say flesh to stone, and there is a stone to flesh here. So they kind of separated them out. This was a sorcerer wizard spell, verbal somatic component. It took 1 action. It had a medium range. It targeted 1 creature, And again, just like the first and second level, or the first and second edition, or Advanced Dungeons and Dragons and second edition, it was a save or suck. So the subject, along with all its carried gear, turns into a mindless inert statue. If the statue resulting from the spell is broken, the subject has similar damage or deformities. The creature is not dead, but it does seem to be alive, either when viewed with spells such as Death Watch. Only creatures made of flesh are affected by this spell. So you cast it, they got a fort save. If they failed, they were stone. And that's basically it. So they did change the spell quite a bit from third edition. From Advanced Dungeons & Dragons to second edition to third edition was pretty much the same. Then it changed to these 3 saving throws, and that's one of the big reasons why I gave it a C, because it took 3 rounds for this to actually take effect. Restrain does suck, but it's not horrible. And this is basically the same. Now, they did put something in here. If you failed your save, or if you've passed your save, your speed was 0, so I do like that. That is a little extra bonus. And they did say what gets rid of it. They did add a couple of classes to this, so I do like that. So on the rating, we are going to give this, I think, not a C, but we're now going to put it at a B because of the save success condition that does happen. All right, that is what I have for everybody today. I appreciate everybody tuning in, and I will catch everybody